Okay.
Thumbs up.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good evening. And today we're hosting the iReady Parent Night. We know you've been hearing a lot about iReady, and so we have folks from the iReady team who will be sharing information for you as a parent of a child who's taken iReady in our district. We have with us Andrea Seville, who is going to be sharing information for you as a parent. And she also is a parent of children in the district. So she's wearing two hats today. We also have Sue Flacco, who is our sales consultant person, and she's been awesome, and the team has been great in meeting our needs. Along with us today, we have Chris Brown, the Assistant Superintendent of Research and School Improvement, and Kevin Chilito, who's our Assessment Coordinator, and Victoria Flores, who is our Associate Research Analyst, and she has been all of us have been kind of working hard with the iReady team. So without much ado, I'm going to hand it over to Andrea Seville to share what she can about what you can do for your children. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight with us to learn about iReady. I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen. There we go. So this is the iReady family session, and during this session, we are going to give an overview of the iReady program, talk about how the diagnostic works, and then explore some iReady resources in our family center. So I'm going to start with what is iReady. iReady is an online program for reading and mathematics that will help your students' teachers determine your students' needs, personalize their learning, and monitor progress throughout the school year. iReady allows your teachers to meet your student exactly where they are and provides data to increase your students' learning gains. We're going to take a minute to learn a little bit more about the iReady components. iReady was built from college and career readiness standards in reading and mathematics. It's an integrated system that reflects teaching and learning happening in the classroom. So iReady Assessment provides comprehensive insight into student learning across K-12 skills and pinpoints student strengths and areas for improvement. It's going to show aspirational, attainable goals for each student to get them on a path to proficiency or advanced proficiency. iReady teacher-led instruction provides your student's teacher with data to understand student performance and needs, and provides your student's teacher with resources for whole class and small group instruction to accelerate student growth and grade level learning. The iReady Diagnostic is an assessment that provides teachers with rich data to help them personalize your students' learning and meet their individual learning needs. The purpose of this assessment is to determine how to best support your students' learning, not to give your students a score or a grade. The test is designed to help your student's teacher provide the right instruction for your student based on their unique strengths and needs. So students begin the first diagnostic with an item 1 grade level below their actual grade. As students answer correctly or incorrectly, the diagnostic adapts to more challenging or less challenging items. The diagnostic continues to adapt based on the student's responses. They will get about 50% of items correct and 50% incorrect. iReady generates an overall performance level for each student in reading and in math. The information the diagnostic gathers from this process allows iReady to pinpoint where and why students are struggling. This helps your student's teacher provide instruction that is just right for your students. So in other words, some questions will be hard, some will be easy, and some will be just right for your student, helping us to gather the information we need to target their needs. So what can you do to help prepare your child before the diagnostic? Try their best. Encourage students to try their best on each question and try not to rush. We want them to use paper and pencil to show work for math questions, get a good night's sleep, and it'll eat a full breakfast the day of the assessment, and try not to worry about questions they do not know. Remind them that it is expected they will only get about half of the questions correct. And be respectful of other students who take longer to finish. Now let's look at what happens during the diagnostic to ensure teachers get the best data possible. When your student logs in, they get a survey before they take the test. This image is a sample of the K2 dashboard, but the same will be true for students in grades K-12. It's going to ask, are you working in your school building today? Click yes if you are taking the diagnostic at school. Click no if you are taking the diagnostic at home. Then they will click the green arrow to move on. Next, they will select reading or math to continue. For reading, click on the book. And for math, click on the math signs. Then they will click the green button to start the diagnostic in the subject that is showing on the screen. After selecting the green button, your child will watch a video that explains the diagnostic to them. During the video, they will have to click on buttons to see short videos to learn about the tools that will be needed for the test. They must click on all the buttons and watch the videos before they can select Start Test. Your student will receive a congratulatory message once the test is completed. Once your student has completed the diagnostic, their teacher will receive targeted and detailed data that will help them provide teacher-led lessons that are just right for your student. iReady generates data from the diagnostic that lets teachers view a comprehensive picture of a student's instructional needs. Teachers are provided with a report called the Diagnostic Results Report for each student. This data includes students' overall results and results by domain. It goes on to inform teachers of what each student can do and next steps for instruction for each domain of reading and math. And teachers use this information to tailor instruction to student needs. It even gives teachers instructional resources like these tools for instruction. On the iReady for Families report, the blue bars on the graph and the corresponding placement levels indicate how your student performed on each test in relation to their grade level, which is indicated by the green shading. The national norm percentile below the graph indicates how your student performed in relation to students in the same grade level nationwide. Students have different areas of strengths and opportunities for growth. It is important to understand how your student did in more specific learning areas, which are called domains. The domain table shows how your student did in specific domains and helps teachers know where to build on strengths and focus their support. Let's talk about the resources that iReady has for support. The iReady Family Center can be found at the link below, or if your student logs into iReady, you can click on the Family Center in the top right-hand corner of their dashboard. Once at the Family Center, you can click on the drop-down next to the globe to change the language. Currently, there are 14 different languages available. In addition to what is iReady, frequently asked questions, and technical support, you can find the Family Guide. This guide summarizes all that we talked about this evening and will help you better understand iReady and how it will help your student build essential skills in reading and mathematics. There is also a video to help you understand the iReady diagnostic data results. And finally, there is a resource where you can get a better understanding of your students' iReady diagnostic results, and it will explain the different parts of the 4 families report. So here are some key takeaways about the iReady diagnostic. The iReady diagnostic provides information to your students' teachers so they can best meet students' needs. Remember, it is not for a grade. You can help your student by encouraging them to try their best on the assessment and use the resources available on our support sites for families like the Family Center. Thank you so much for learning more about the iReady diagnostic. And Vanitha, I will turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Andrea. I think our parents have been watching, and there is a form at the bottom of the YouTube link. If you want to go ahead and add your questions in there, we will make sure that we have the iReady team respond to you. Right now, I'm going to have Victoria share one of the questions that was submitted by a parent.
Actually, that question was just about how to submit questions to this forum. So again, you can use the link that is down below in the YouTube. Thank you.
What we also want to share is that you as a parent can view your child's family report through Parent View. If you go in and if you log in to the Parent View portal, you can choose assessments and more, and you will have access to the iReady reading and the iReady math diagnostic results for your child. So you can go ahead and have access to that. You can access those results. We will be uploading the Spanish versions of it, and you should have those by Monday of next week. So you will have access to it in English and Spanish.
Vanitha, we did have another question come in. I would be happy to go ahead and answer that question. It is about when the next iReady assessment is going to be given. So the iReady diagnostic is something that we give 3 times a year in Long Beach. The only exception to that is the kindergarten students do not participate in the first round of the diagnostic, the one that we just finished giving over the month of October. The next round, or the Diagnostic 2, is scheduled to begin the very end of January all through February, with the last diagnostic, the Diagnostic 3, scheduled to be administered during the month of May and into June, so that we will have 3 different windows throughout the course of the school year. We can identify students' goals and growth goals, and ultimately monitor their progress from one diagnostic window to the next.
Kevin, did you also want to kind of share the purpose of iReady and how we're using the data?
Yes, the iReady diagnostic is not intended to be used for calculating student grades or anything of that matter. It's truly to identify what your students know and what they might need some additional support in, so that ultimately the teachers can work with each individual student, honing in on their individual needs, and be better able to actually provide the support that every student needs, so that we can accelerate the learning of the student rather than try to remediate the learning of the student. We are getting more questions coming in. So let's see what we've got here. Do the students take the iReady at home or in school? So that is definitely a great question. We, in the district, the goal is to give the iReady assessment within school whenever possible. The reason for that, as iReady found through historical data, is that the assessment, when actively proctored in a school setting, provides better, accurate results on the individual student needs. So that is the intent whenever possible, to administer the test within the normal school day. We do realize that there may be some circumstances in which that is not possible. So the nice thing about the iReady assessment platform is it does provide flexibility, so that if there is a circumstance in which the only option is to administer the test at home remotely, we can still make that happen. A follow-up to that, a question came in: does this mean that teachers don't give their own tests in class? So the teachers do give the iReady assessment, so they are responsible for actually administering that. But if I'm understanding the question correctly, it's more about the other assessments that may be given within the class setting in addition to iReady. So yes, teachers still are able to give their own assessments for use in grading and evaluating the student on their knowledge and mastery of the curriculum taught within the class. And we all are also developing unit tests district-wide that are more common across the grade levels and curriculum areas that will also be administered.
And Kevin, if I can add to that a little bit, one of the things we've really been trying to help our staff with is this idea that iReady is a tool. It's not the only tool teachers have at their disposal, right? Teachers have their own professional experiences, the assignments students do in class, their own tests for formative assessment. So really, this is just another tool that they have to really dial in on what a student needs, what a student is excelling at. So not only how to help students be more successful, but how to help accelerate students who are already successful. So it's just one tool in a series of tools that teachers have. It's just a new one for us, which is why we're focusing on it.
I did see a question come in about dual immersion sites. My daughter actually attends a dual immersion site within the Long Beach district, so I'll go ahead and field this question. First, the math assessment or the math diagnostic was something that we were able to provide in Spanish for these students. So the question is more related to the English reading assessment. So some sites did choose to administer, based upon the grade levels, the reading assessment in English, but we are also launching an assessment of reading in Spanish that will be given later this year and will be utilized by our dual immersion sites. So the model at those sites would really be that some students will take both. Some students may end up only taking the assessment of reading in Spanish, specifically at the younger grades, where the model is more heavily weighted towards Spanish language program than it is English. As the students progress through the grades, and ultimately, the model switches to become more of a 50-50 model of English and Spanish, then some of the sites will be utilizing both assessments at their choice. I'm also the SBAC coordinator, so that means the next question is on me. Will students take the SBAC this year? Yes, the SBAC is something that will be administered again this year. I don't want to go too far into depth on that because that's a little bit off topic for the evening. We want to focus truly on the iReady diagnostic suite. We have a question about what are specific ways to support my student. And I'd like to possibly draw on the expertise of the iReady team to just maybe discuss some of the different tools and resources that are provided by the platform when parents jump into pView and access their student reports for iReady.
Yeah, let me go ahead and jump into that Family Center resource, and then I can also share my screen again. Let me grab this link. Thank you for your patience. So I think the biggest thing that you can do to support your students, once you look at that, the 4 Families report in Parent View, just discuss the data with your students. And in order to do that, again, we have the 4 Families Center. And if I scroll down just a little bit, use this guide right here. You can download this PDF and it will help you talk with your student about what that diagnostic data means. So when you see the 4 Families report, it's going to give you, again, that overall placement where your student's at in reading and mathematics, but it's also going to let you know which particular domains in reading and math your student needs more support with. So for example, my 4th grader needs more support in informational text. And one of the resources that his teacher uses with homework is the Scholastic News. So I told him when we're going to make sure we really work hard together on that Scholastic News, and I'm going to make sure I read through it with my student at night, so not in the morning like we've been doing. And what's the answer, Mom? Check this at the very last minute. I'm going to really make sure I'm helping my student with that resource at home. My daughter is in 7th grade. Her greatest need is in the geometry domain. And so I'm really going to work with her specifically that she's working on slope. Now, of course, it's 7th grade math, so I'm going to have to do some Googling and figure it out first. But I really am going to work with my student and support her with her homework and looking over her quizzes in regards, because I know exactly what domain they need some support with. Now, the other thing that you can do to support your students is, as Kevin said, the second diagnostic will start January 31st. Encourage your student to try their best. The first diagnostic, we're trying to figure out, what is this diagnostic thing? What is this like? Your students will have some experience with it, and now they know exactly what it's like, and they can start to set some goals. So I can see that growth on the second diagnostic. So just encourage them to try their best and to take it very seriously, but also remind them they're not going to know the answer to every single question on the diagnostic, and that is okay. They still need to try their best though. I'll just give you a story of my daughter. The first time she took the diagnostic, she said to me, why are there letters in the math problems? Like, she had not seen letters in her algebra, right? So I said, that's okay. You're not ready for that yet. Try your best. Read through the question, read through all of the answers, make the best choice, whatever makes most sense to you, and then keep moving on. And because she wanted to get everything right on the diagnostic, and I had to remind her, that's not the purpose of the diagnostic. It's not like a unit test where your teacher's taught you all of this information and now the teacher wants to see if you've mastered that information. This is a diagnostic to see what you know, what are your strengths, your can-dos, and then where are some opportunities for growth. So again, it's really to help the teacher pinpoint those areas or opportunities for growth. So again, just reminding them to try their best on the second diagnostic and any other diagnostic that they take. And then if they're not sure, When they see the question, try their best and keep moving.
Hey, Andrea. We did get another question that's related to the scope and size of iReady, specifically within California. I don't know if you have exact numbers, but if you could give us an idea, roughly how many school districts within California use iReady, and about how many California students actually are assessed with the different diagnostics each year, and then possibly also throughout the nation as well, just so we have a better understanding of the size of this platform.
Sue, did you want to take that one? We actually had that question today, and Karen told us it was about 1.3 million students that took the diagnostic in California this fall.
Yeah, we have quite a few districts in California that use it. You're surrounded by iReady districts locally and millions of students across the United States. You happen to be located near Norwalk. Norwalk's actually been on the program for about 9 years. So you have a long-term user very close to you. So where you're new, they've been around for a while. And that's really the scope of all of our districts across the country. Many are coming to iReady because of the way we're able to pinpoint your students' skills and strengths, and teachers are able to accelerate learning with the tools that we provide them. So you're in good company.
I'm going to jump back to a question that was previously asked. I don't want to lose track of it in the form that is tracking all of these questions. We did get one that asked if iReady shares any of the data that's collected outside with other parties, and the answer to that is no. So the partnership between iReady and Long Beach is strictly between iReady and Long Beach. They don't take any of our students' data and share it with any other agency other than Long Beach Unified. So moving on to another question we got from one of our parents asking, do teachers understand the assessment, and will they meet with each student to help guide them to the resources? So that is one of the things that the iReady team has been working on since the initial launch, was not just training us how to administer the test, but also making sure that we were ready to work with our teachers to do what comes next, which is really working with the students to address their individual needs. So yes, it is all new this year. So it is something that we are working to essentially get better at every day. But yes, the teachers are becoming more and more familiar with iReady with every passing day, and they are beginning to work with the students to accelerate their learning and address their individual needs.
And if I could jump in there, Kevin, just for a second, I do want to make sure we manage expectations as well. This is our first year using iReady, and October was our first time administering the exam. So we are cognizant that, especially in this year, as students are coming back for the first time in 20 months, our teachers have a lot of work to do with students building relationships and not just worrying about test results and test scores. So while we are training the teachers, we do have this expectation that this is a long-term partnership for us in the district. This is data that we're going to gather over many, many years, and we want to make sure that we slowly train our teachers to make sure that they're comfortable with it and they can use it effectively. So I would expect to see teachers becoming more and more comfortable as we move through the administrations and year after year, and not necessarily have the expectation that all of our teachers are doing one-on-one conferences and really digging into it right away. We want to make sure that they understand it and that they have plans for how to respond to it before they stress it too much. So we want to start gathering the data. We want our students to do the best they can. But like I said earlier, it's not the only tool we have. And so we really are trying to help our teachers balance the other tools that they have that they're used to using with the introduction of this new tool and work with them to make sure that they're comfortable as we move them along. So I do want to manage expectations a little bit so that we don't end up with, people really frustrated that their teachers aren't instantly using it when it's brand new to the teachers as well.
I did want to circle back real quick. I did notice a couple of comments got submitted indicating that they were only finding their math report in the Parent View portal. So that is definitely something I'd like to follow up on. When we download all of these PDF parent family reports and bring them into our portal, it's quite a lengthy process. So if something got missed or something didn't get updated correctly, we will get that addressed very quickly here. But if I could get you, anyone that may have submitted a comment to that nature, to please just submit another comment and let us know which site you're at. That will help us, or which school site your child attends. That will help us identify anything that may have potentially gotten missed so that we can get that corrected. We've had some questions come up about what are the standards that iReady is linked to. All of these assessment items are specific to California, not necessarily for all iReady districts, but for us. So these are linked directly to California content standards. If the iReady team would like to elaborate a little bit more on that, that would be great. Just kind of explain how this is a very well-suited assessment for California.
Yes, absolutely. So it is, again, built on the college and career readiness standards for reading and mathematics, and it is specific to California. So when teachers are looking at their data, they are going to be able to see those 6 reading domains as well as the 4 mathematics domains, but those domains encompass the reading and mathematics standards that your students are working on in their daily instruction. So it really aligns very well. So again, teachers can pinpoint areas of strength and areas of need.
And if I could jump on, actually, we just did a training today with some of our administrators and teachers, and there is actually a standards report that they can see where it actually goes through their students or their classes and aligns how the students did with the California standards for the different grade levels. So the teachers can see, is the student approaching mastery on that standard, or is the student, needing some more work on that standard, even if that standard was from a grade level above or below where the student is currently. So the teachers don't have to necessarily go out and try and map the domains to the standards. That's already been done for them, so they can see that. And again, it's the standards that are in all of their curriculum and resources that they've used since they've been with us.
Thank you to the participants that helped identify which site may be missing some of the reports. We will get that fixed.
And Kevin, I think there was another question about where parents can view the diagnostic results for their child. So if you can kind of share where they can go and get the results.
So when you do log into ParentView, you do need to have a ParentView account because these are digital reports in PDF format. When you log into ParentView, there will be a reports tab. And on that reports tab, you'll see, among other things, the iReady family report for your diagnostic one. You'll see 2 reports there, with the exception of the folks that said that they were missing their reading report. And again, we'll get that fixed, but you'll see 1 report for reading and 1 report for math.
I can answer the question on the difference between iReady and iExcel. So iReady is a diagnostic. It basically presents the students with multiple questions based on their responses in a variety of domains. For math, it might be number and operations and algebraic thinking and geometry and measurement and data. And so it kind of assesses where the students are in terms of their skills and their knowledge. iExcel is a supplementary program that teachers can use with the students, and the students take these, they kind of work inside iExcel to kind of work on the skills that they need for that specific concept or standard. So the difference is one is a diagnostic, which is iReady, and iExcel is a supplement to kind of the core content in teaching students the skills.
Chris, we've had some questions come in that are truly related to the goals that would be set by iReady, as well as stretch goals. And if I'm hoping you could maybe do a little explanation just on, what these goals are intended to, essentially tell the teachers so that we can get students caught up or on a plan to get caught up if they're below grade level or in need of extra support.
Sure. So one of the things that the iReady platform allows us to do with its wealth of data and the millions of students that it's been tested is it really gives us a benchmark for how much students should progress during their school year in order to stay on grade level, or better yet, to make up time for grade level, to make up if they're a little bit behind. So one of the things that every student will have in their with their teachers is they have a typical growth goal and a stretch growth goal. And really, the typical growth goal is around making sure you're getting a year's worth of learning in, making sure that you're progressing and keeping up with the learning that's being done. The stretch goal is really to help you do one of two things, really. If you're a student who's on grade level or who's doing really well, it's a goal to help you accelerate. We want our students to be doing above grade level. We want all of our students to be progressing beyond just the bare minimums of the class standards. And if you're a student who's a little bit behind, the stretch goal puts you on a plan to catch up, right? So really, we want to make sure that we get our students caught up by the time they leave us or before they leave us. So with the two goals, we have a chance to not only make sure we're keeping our students on pace, but also to make sure we're either accelerating them or we're closing that gap and getting them back to where they need to be before they leave us. And it's something we can track year over year and actually, track throughout the year. So we can look between the early fall administration and the winter administration and go, hey, we know students are on pace to catch up. They're on pace to be accelerating. Or, hey, they're not on pace and we need to make sure we intervene and do something with a student now so that when we get to June, they're back on pace or they're ahead of pace. And the other part that I really want to stress is that for us in Long Beach, this is not about remediation, right? This is not about going slower. This is about helping students go faster with just what they need in just the moment they need it in. So for example, as a teacher, if I gave iReady and I now have a goal for my student and I know what my student's needs are, I might have seen that I have a student who scores really well in, let's say, reading comprehension, but maybe is struggling with high-end vocabulary words. And if I'm a science teacher, I know I'm about to give them some passages that the student will be able to comprehend, but there's going to be some technical vocabulary in there. And I know that this student struggles with that. So I can give the student some supports around vocabulary, which would then give them access to that information in their reading passage, as opposed to letting the student struggle through, read without understanding the vocabulary. And then I wouldn't know, is it the comprehension that's missing or it's the vocabulary that's missing? So really, instead of going back and trying to teach vocabulary from years before, I'm going to teach just the vocabulary I need right now to get my student caught up, because we know from research that the best way to catch students up is to keep them exposed to grade level material. The best way to catch students up is not to go back and have them repeat earlier grade level material and do first grade content while they're sitting in a third grade class. They're in third grade, they need to be doing third grade work with the supports on anything that they might have missed out on in first or second grade that allows them to keep up with that third grade content. So it's not about doing it all over. It's about doing what you need to keep staying on pace. And research has shown that's the most effective way of getting kids caught up. So this gives us the data we need to start doing that with our students moving forward.
Okay, so we had a period where a lot of questions were coming in really fast, and they do seem to have pretty much come to a stop. So at this point, I think it's probably a good time to go ahead and thank our iReady team for everything that they've done here this evening, as well as everything that they've done to help us launch this platform with our school sites and families this year, and go ahead and come to a close for the evening. Anything else that the iReady team would like to share before we wrap up here tonight?
No, just once again, thank you so much for having us with your families and be able to explain the iReady program. We really appreciate this. Partnership has been amazing. The support from the district is absolutely amazing as we have rolled out iReady. And we know, Sue and I know, that the partnership will continue to grow.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone, for joining us this evening. And we will, if you put your email in the form and would like a follow-up, we will definitely get back to you as soon as possible with a more specific answer to your question. So again, thank you all for your time this evening.